So I knew it. Dandadan is just one of those animes that was going to come out of nowhere and probably be anime of the year. At first I speculated that maybe Solo Leveling might be anime of the year. Then Kaiju number 8 came out of nowhere. But I held out hope that in October, this fall, that Dandadan would come out of nowhere and just punch everybody in the face. And it has. My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen have ended in Shonen Jump. One Piece's ending's around the corner, probably about 10 years from now. And Oda said that we'd be done about 5 years ago, but it's been 5 years, so we probably have a good 10 years left of One Piece, to be honest. And, you know, some people think that we're going into a new dark age for Shonen Jump. Hunter x Hunter's coming back weekly. We still don't know how long we have till it goes back on hiatus, but there are still some new titles that are popping up. I talked about Kaiju number 8. We have Sakamoto Days, but I want to talk about one new title that has caught my eye and just shot up to the spotlight. It's called Dandadan. Dandadan started in Shonen Jump Plus in April of 2021, and pretty much it's a story about a girl who finds out she has dormant psychic powers during an alien abduction, and a boy who is possessed by a granny spirit and loses his balls. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a story about a girl and a boy trying to find the boy's lost family jewels. And I promise you, this is unlike anything you've ever seen before. So in this video, we're going to discuss the author, the first chapter of the manga, and the anime adaptation. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible because I think Dandadan is something that you need to experience and not really something that you need to be explained. But we'll be going over some of the first chapters, so the foundation is laid out. So let's get started. Author Yukinobu Tatsu, formerly known as Yukinobu Ryu, harnesses the energy unleashed from Tatsuki Fujimoto, the author of Chainsaw Man, and he focuses it into his own wacky supernatural adventure. Funnily enough, Yukinobu Tatsu worked as an assistant to Fujimoto on Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man Part 1. So we need to pause right there because this is a really insane situation. We don't have one, but 3 mangakas that go on and make their mark helping assist with Chainsaw Man Part 1. We have Yukinobu Tatsu, Yuji Kaku, Yukinobu helped assist with On Hell's Paradise, and Tatsuya Endo, who would eventually end up creating Spy Family. That is an insane amount of creative genius and talent being concentrated in one place. Dandadan does seem to have come out of nowhere, but Yukinobu Tatsu is not new to the manga world. In fact, Dandadan is his 3rd major publication. He's expressed in multiple interviews that he was actually in a slump and going through a time in his life where he couldn't draw. And after multiple failed one-shots and 2 canceled serializations, Yukinobu fell into a very deep depression. It wasn't until his editor, Hayashi Shihei, suggested that he draw without thinking. And after taking that advice, he flipped through his notebook and saw an old idea about Sadako versus Kayako, which is a movie. It's a 2016 Japanese crossover. It's a comedy kind of in the vein of, Scary Movie, and it has the Ring and the Grudge series villains, and they're battling in the movie to see who comes out on top. And Yukinobu began to draw without thinking, and this is where we get the first glimpse of what would eventually become Dandadan. One thing that I did not realize is that Dandadan, just like Kaiju number 8, is not in the traditional weekly Shonen Jump magazine. Instead, it's found at home on the app Shonen Jump Plus. So after taking his work to Jump, Dandadan is finally serialized. Our main character, Momo Ayase, is getting dumped when we first meet her. And it turns out that she had ignored her friend's advice because she liked this guy because he looked just like her movie star crush, Ken Takakura, the Japanese Clint Eastwood. So she's wandering down the hallway in a deep depression, and she sees a boy with glasses being bullied by his classmates. And Momo sits in front of the boy and glares at the kids making fun of him, which causes him to scurry off. This is a reoccurring trait she displays throughout the series. Momo can seem cold and unassuming, but she is a very brave and caring person who hides her vulnerability through a tough demeanor. Momo gets up and starts back towards the hallway, and as she's walking, she hears her name being called out. She turns to see the boy with glasses, and he claims to know what she likes and proceeds to push the book into her face. The president had been to Mars, and that Japan and America are aware of UAPs, which are unidentified aerial phenomenon. Momo says she doesn't believe in aliens and begins to lose interest. The boy then tries to tell her about cryptids, but then she lashes out about having a broken heart and tells him he can't read the room and that's why he's friendless. She then apologizes to him and tells him while she doesn't believe in aliens, she does believe in spirits. And that's when the boy starts laughing at her, telling her that ghosts don't exist. The boy challenges Momo to go to a hospital where there have been UAP sightings, and Momo challenges him to go to a tunnel where there have been sightings of ghosts. Well, let's just say both of them turn out to be right, and Okarun must outrun Toro Granny, and Momo must escape extraterrestrials. And that is where we're going to leave off. After that, it gets insane, and I think it'd be better to read or watch than me telling you. But that being said, once everything starts, it does not slow down. One thing about Dandadan that you will notice first is the artwork. It's gorgeous. Yukinobu Tatsu has a very distinct style. The images just seem to jump off the page in Dandadan. From the insane double-page spread to the wonderfully wacky tankobon art, you immediately recognize the series. It doesn't look like any of its other contemporaries in the manga world. The character designs also don't look much like any other manga either. This also makes the series stand out, especially on a bookshelf. One thing that continually leaves readers of Dandadan in awe is the constant output of detailed art on a weekly basis. There is never any question that you're getting 110%. Yukinobu Tatsu is easily one of the best illustrators out there. Some of the illustrations are on par with Junji Ito in terms of horror, and some are reminiscent of the late Kentaro Miura, author of Berserk. Some of the double spreads just leave you wondering how this is done weekly, and to top that off, none of it is drawn digitally. I did my best to choose some out-of-context double spreads just to give you a scope of what we are working with here. Just look at some of this artwork. It's gorgeous. No matter how chaotic the art or story gets, the art clearly demonstrates an understanding using not only text to push the story further, but the drawings too. Dandadan doesn't just tell you, it shows you. Next, let's talk about the brilliance of the choreography. Dandadan's paneling is insane, and sometimes, to be honest, after knowing Yukinobu worked on Chainsaw Man, it wouldn't be outrageous to assume he helped inspire some of Fujimoto's crazy panels, along with some moments literally jumping off the page. Dandadan has some of the easiest choreography to follow. No matter how crazy the action gets, following the movement is very easy, and that's very important when reading the manga. Dandadan has very fluid choreography, and this is definitely important when it comes to storytelling, because as the story goes on, it gets more insane, and you have to be able to see what's going on. You can't just be guessing what images you're looking at. Dandadan has an array of wacky characters that make up its ensemble. Momo, Okurun, Seiko, Turbo Granny. All these characters are very fun and well written. Aside from the crazy story, one of the best parts of the series is the character interaction. Every character has a depth to them that can sometimes be missing in manga and just fiction in general. Through illustration and narration, Yukinobu brings his characters to life. Watching these erratic personalities bounce off each other is just one of my favorite things about the show. A lot of the times when you first meet the character, they come off very shallow, selfish, mean, just pieces of shit, to be honest. And the more we learn about their backgrounds, we relate to them more. Momo, for example, when we first meet her, Momo's being dumped and all she cares about is getting a boyfriend. She's also kind of abrasive and standoffish. But we do learn this is because she's vulnerable and doesn't let her guard down for many. Momo has been hurt, especially when it comes to her relationship with the paranormal. And though we don't forgive all of her behavior, we do understand why she has her attitude. And like many of us, she's learned to repress herself in order to fit in. This is why meeting Okurun is so important. She can be herself around him without fear of judgment. We also come to learn that Momo is brave. She does not think twice about fighting on their behalf. And our other main character in the story, Kin Takakura, or Okurun, is the opposite of Momo. He has horrible self-esteem. In Okurun's first appearance, he's essentially ignoring being bullied by stuffing his face in a paranormal magazine. After Momo stares down the bullies, Okurun builds up the courage to talk to her. Okurun is very protective of his friends, but we also see that he can be a dickhead. Okurun immediately shoots down Momo, as mentioned earlier, when she says that she believes in ghosts. One ingenious metaphor that is also a main part of contention is that Okurun loses his balls, which can be seen as his manhood or confidence. So as the series goes on, he becomes more confident as he finds the missing parts. These two very different personalities meaning is very chaotic. There is a constant push and pull between them. But one thing is for sure, they care deeply for one another. And watching Momo and Okuro interact is always a joy to watch as we see their friendship and romance blossom. Once the rest of the cast joins in, the interactions just get better and better. The way Yukinobu makes his characters interact reminds me of how Oda makes the Straw Hats interact. From the narcissist Shiatori Aira to Seiko, Momo's insane medium grandmother, Dandadan delivers personalities as big and wacky as the story itself. Somehow, all these characters feel very three-dimensional. And as I mentioned earlier about One Piece is known for its ability to make you empathize with its characters by giving us some of the most raw and human backstories in manga and fiction in general. Dandadan somehow gives One Piece a competition in that department. Dandadan was part of this giant anime leak back in August. It is the biggest anime leak recorded in history for anime, apparently. The first 6 episodes of Dandadan released, Ranma 1/2 released, Terminator Zero released, and the Mononoke movie, and even the first episode of ReZero Season 3. It was a devastating blow, and a lot of fans feared that it would hurt the bottom line for streaming services and New York animation distributors, G-Kids. This was going to be their first time purchasing an anime and distributing it. This worried the anime world that the impact of these leaks would affect whether people would tune in on the release dates and affect the viewership. And I'm happy to say that that wasn't the case. It was a weekend screening and it ended up grossing $1 million in revenue. The first 3 episodes cover the first 5 chapters of the manga. And let me say, Dandadan as an anime is awesome. Science Saru, Scott Pilgrim, Devilman Crybaby, has once again come onto the scene with a fresh and fun adaptation. Everything from the character designs to the backgrounds were breathtaking. The color palettes and juxtapositions are amazing. It translates beautifully into an animated format. Of course, its source material with the insane detail of the art is hard to outflank, but the anime does more than enough to make the source material proud. It stands on its own as a worthy adaptation. Trust me when I say this is definitely going to be anime of the year. Science Saru did not hold back in any way. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. The anime is pure eye candy and backed by a stellar soundtrack. One thing that makes this show stand out are the voice actors. Dandadan boasts a stellar voice acting cast and they bring the characters to life perfectly. Momo Ayase is voiced by Shion Wakayama. Fans will know her from her work stemming from Jabba's reincarnation to Dr. Stone. She perfectly conveys the stubborn but kind-hearted nature of Momo. Occult is voiced by Natsuki Hane, the voice of Kamado Kanjuro in Demon Slayer. Okuno's shy, sleazy, but protective nature is done masterfully by Hane. And if that doesn't convince you, try having Turbo Granny be voiced by Mayumi Tanaka, the voice of Luffy, and the Serpoian's aliens being voiced by Kazuya Nakai, the voice of Zoro. Not to mention that the voice actors for the dub and sub are also in constant contact with each other. The premiere has a bonus segment of interviews from the team that worked on the show, including the voices of Momo Occult, the director, and Yukinobu Tatsu as editor. The impression you immediately get is that everyone working on the adaptation is deeply invested in Dandadan and has put all the love and care it deserves. The genre bending from the manga is perfectly captured as Occult and Momo get caught in all the chaos and insanity of their world, along with color shifts that will make JoJo fans feel right at home. And in fact, the series director Fuga Yamashiro made the deliberate choice to use colors as symbols. The anime-only scenes also certain to tighten the overall narrative and story. And one thing I really enjoyed was how it handled the manga's breakneck pace, but not one time did I feel lost in the narrative. That is something that I would think make a lot of newcomers to the story and the anime-only crowd happy, because a lot of current fans have been very worried about if this could be adapted into an anime. It was perfect. Now I will say that episode 1 can be a bit rough, but trust me, stick it through and it will be worth it. After seeing the first encounter and I've made it into the mid-season of the anime, I don't think there'll be any issue falling in love with this story all over again on a different medium. So yeah, Dandadan is probably going to be anime of the year. I know I've said it before, but after such a stacked year of anime, I think that Dandadan will come out on top. So if you stay to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, hit that like button, and ring that notification bell. I'm Z, this is Kid Ego Media, and I'll see you in the next video.